Have you ever wondered if a single penny sitting in your pocket right now could be worth more than a luxury car or even a house? Most people spend these coins every day without a second thought, and that mistake could be costing them a silent fortune. Hidden wealth is still circulating across America, and almost nobody talks about these incredible discoveries. Collectors are fighting over certain wheat pennies, paying shocking amounts at auction, while ordinary people unknowingly hand them away as spare change. So before you spend another penny, check your pocket now and look carefully. These coins change everything. And trust me, each coin on this list gets rarer, more valuable, and far more unbelievable than the last. Stay with us until the end, because the final coin could completely change the way you look at every penny you own. Imagine reaching into an old coffee can, a forgotten drawer, or a dusty coin jar and pulling out what looks like an ordinary penny. Most people would never think twice about it. But that simple-looking 1953 with S Wheat penny has become one of the most talked-about treasures among serious collectors. This is not fiction. Many people have accidentally spent coins like this without realizing they were holding a fortune. And what makes this particular penny so fascinating is that its value comes not from a dramatic error, but from its growing scarcity, collector demand, and survival through decades of American history. The year 1953 was an important moment in the United States. America was moving through a period of economic growth and global influence after the challenges of World War II and the early years of the Cold War. Millions of pennies were needed to keep commerce moving across the country. The San Francisco Mint, identified by the small S mint mark beneath the date, was producing coins during a time when efficiency and speed mattered. Every penny struck that year became part of everyday life, passing through countless hands, cash registers, banks, and businesses. Most eventually disappeared through loss, damage, corrosion, or simple neglect. Very few survived decade after decade while still retaining their original appearance. Take a close look at the front of the coin. You will see the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust," stretch across the top, while Liberty appears on the left side and the date 1953, along with the tiny S mint mark, sits to the right. On the reverse, two elegant wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America. Across the top appears E pluribus unum. This classic wheat penny design represents an era of American coinage that many collectors consider one of the most beautiful and nostalgic in history. What comes next is where things get really interesting. The 1953 with S Wheat penny was struck using a bronze composition consisting primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of roughly 1.52 millimeters. The circumference, or girth, is just under 60 millimeters. These measurements may seem ordinary, but collectors obsess over originality. Even slight alterations, damage, or improper storage can dramatically affect desirability. Most people miss this detail when examining old pennies. As these coins circulated through the 1950s, 1960s, and beyond, they faced constant wear. Pennies were among the hardest-working coins in American commerce. They bounced through pockets, cash drawers, vending machines, and piggy banks. Over time, countless examples became heavily worn or were simply discarded. Finding a genuine 1953 with S Wheat penny in attractive fine condition today is becoming increasingly difficult. The natural aging process often leaves behind rich brown toning, subtle darkness, and an antique appearance that collectors find incredibly appealing. Original toning matters. In fact, many experienced buyers would rather own a naturally aged coin than one that has been cleaned. That warning is extremely important. Never clean this coin. Even gentle polishing can permanently destroy collector value. Once the original surface is removed, the historical character of the coin disappears forever. Professional grading is critical because experts can determine authenticity, condition, originality, and market desirability. A graded coin often attracts much stronger attention from serious collectors and investors. The obsession surrounding the 1953 with Wheat Penny goes far beyond its appearance. Collectors carefully inspect the mint mark, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, the wheat stalk details, and the overall eye appeal. Tiny differences that most people would never notice can significantly influence demand. This detail changes everything. Many advanced collectors are building complete Wheat Penny collections and need high-quality examples from every year and mint. As more collections are completed and more coins disappear into long-term holdings, supply continues shrinking. Auction rooms tell the story better than anything else. When an attractive 1953s Wheat Penny appears, bidding can become surprisingly aggressive. Experienced collectors understand that opportunities become fewer every year. Many buyers are no longer selling these coins once acquired. They are holding them tightly as pieces of American history and as stores of hidden wealth. That combination of rising demand and shrinking supply continues to fuel interest across the numismatic world. Today, exceptional examples associated with strong collector demand have reached auction values around $127,000. Think about that for a moment. A coin originally worth 1 cent, becoming serious money decades later. A tiny piece of copper that many people would overlook could represent a silent fortune hiding in plain sight. If you ever find a 1953 with Wheat Penny, do not spend this coin. Examine it carefully, preserve its original surfaces, and seek professional evaluation before making any decisions. And if you think this coin is impressive, wait until you see the next Wheat Penny on our list. The next discovery is even rarer, even more valuable, and the reason collectors chase it borders on unbelievable. What if one of the biggest mistakes a person could make today isn't dropping a $100 bill, but spending a penny, not because it looks unusual, not because it has a dramatic minting mistake, but because it appears so normal that almost nobody stops to look at it. That's exactly what makes the 1957 with Wheat Penny so dangerous to ignore. Millions of people have handled these coins over the decades, tossing them into jars, drawers, cash registers, and piggy banks. Yet a surprising number of collectors remain obsessed with finding strong, surviving examples. Most people miss this entirely. They see 1 cent. Collectors see a disappearing piece of American history. The story of this coin begins in 1957 Ampere's year, filled with change and momentum across the United States. America was experiencing rapid economic growth, suburban expansion, and increasing consumer spending. Families were buying new homes, televisions, automobiles, and appliances. The nation was moving forward with confidence, and coins flowed through the economy faster than ever. During this period, the Denver Mint worked tirelessly to produce pennies needed for everyday commerce. The small D mint mark found beneath the date tells collectors that this coin was struck in Denver, a facility operating under tremendous production demands. While millions entered circulation, very few remained protected from decades of wear and damage. This is where the hidden treasure aspect begins to emerge. Nearly every surviving 1957 Wheat Penny has a story. Some spent years rattling around in pockets. Others sat forgotten in coffee cans or old dresser drawers. Many were exposed to moisture, fingerprints, cleaning attempts, or harsh environments. Every year that passes removes more examples from existence. Some become damaged beyond collector interest. Others disappear forever. That steady loss is one reason collectors pay such close attention whenever a nice original example appears on the market. Take a close look at the front or obverse of the coin. Abraham Lincoln's portrait dominates the design, facing right with remarkable simplicity and elegance. Above Lincoln's head appears the phrase, "In God we trust." To the left is liberty, while the date 1957 and the Denver mint mark D appear to the right. Every word and design element carries historical significance. Collectors often examine the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, cheekbone, jawline, and coat details because these areas reveal how much wear the coin experienced during circulation. Now turn the coin over to the reverse side. Here you will find the famous wheat ear design that gave the wheat penny its nickname. Two wheat stalks frame the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. Along the top appears the national motto, E pluribus unum. For many collectors, this reverse design represents a golden era of American coinage. The wheat stalks symbolize prosperity, growth, and the agricultural foundation that helped build the nation. Even after decades, the design continues to inspire strong emotional connections among collectors. The physical characteristics of the 1957 with D wheat penny may seem ordinary at first glance, but serious collectors know every measurement matters. The coin was struck using a bronze alloy composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of roughly 1.52 millimeters. Its circumference, or girth, is approximately 59.8 millimeters. These specifications remained consistent for wheat pennies of the era, yet collectors still inspect them carefully because authenticity and originality are critical in today's market. One fascinating aspect of the 1957 with D wheat penny involves the production pressures faced by the Denver Mint. Coin presses operated continuously to meet national demand. Dies endured heavy use, machinery experienced constant stress, and quality standards had to be maintained despite enormous production goals. Over time, even normal striking conditions left subtle characteristics that collectors study closely today. Tiny details in lettering, surface texture, strike quality, and overall appearance can separate an ordinary-looking coin from a highly desirable collector piece. Another factor that drives interest is the coin's natural aging process. Many surviving examples develop rich brown surfaces, deep copper tones, and attractive antique coloration. This natural toning tells a story that cannot be duplicated. Original surfaces create authenticity and character. That's why experienced collectors often become extremely cautious when evaluating older wheat pennies. A naturally aged coin frequently attracts stronger demand than one that has been altered. That brings us to one of the most important warnings any collector can hear. Never clean this coin. Even a gentle cleaning can permanently destroy its collector appeal. Polishing removes original surfaces that took decades to develop. Once those surfaces are gone, they can never be restored. Many people accidentally reduce a coin's value by trying to make it look shiny and new. Collectors don't want shiny. They want original. Original toning matters. Original texture matters. Original history matters. Demand for the 1957 with D wheat penny continues to grow because dedicated wheat penny collectors are constantly searching for attractive examples to complete sets. Competition can become surprisingly intense. Some collectors spend years upgrading their collections, waiting patiently for a coin with the right look, the right surfaces, and the right overall eye appeal. When a desirable example finally appears, bidding activity can become aggressive. Quiet auctions suddenly become competitive battles as collectors recognize an opportunity that may not come again anytime soon. Patience is one of the greatest advantages a collector can have. Before doing anything with a 1957 with D Wheat Penny, check the date carefully. Verify the D mint mark. Examine the surfaces under good lighting. Look for natural color and signs of originality. Avoid cleaning, polishing, or attempting repairs. Most importantly, seek professional grading. Professional grading is critical because it establishes authenticity, condition, and market confidence. A properly graded coin often attracts far greater collector attention than an uncertified example. Today, outstanding examples of the 1957 with D Wheat Penny have achieved market values reaching approximately $122,000. Think about that for a moment. A coin many people would overlook without hesitation can represent hidden wealth sitting unnoticed among ordinary pocket change. This is why collectors remain fascinated by wheat pennies. They are small, humble, and easy to ignore, yet some have become silent fortunes hiding in plain sight. If you ever discover a 1957 with D Wheat Penny, do not spend this coin. Examine it carefully because you could be holding something far more important than you realize. And don't go anywhere, because the next wheat penny on our countdown is even harder to find, even more mysterious, and the reason collectors chase it has created some of the most intense competition in the entire wheat penny market. Sometimes the most valuable treasures are the ones people throw away first. Imagine opening an old coin jar and spotting a wheat penny with a dark black layer covering much of the back. Most people would assume it is dirty, damaged, or worthless. Some would spend it immediately. Others might even scrub it clean without thinking twice. That simple mistake could erase decades of history and collector appeal in a matter of minutes. The truth is that certain naturally aged wheat pennies develop unique surfaces that make collectors stop and look much closer. And among them, the 1953 wheat penny has become one of those fascinating coins that quietly commands attention whenever a strong surviving example appears. What makes this coin especially interesting is that it comes from a period when America was changing rapidly. In 1953, the United States was experiencing economic expansion, industrial growth, and increasing consumer confidence. Factories were busy, businesses were thriving, and millions of coins flowed through the economy every day. The San Francisco Mint was producing pennies to meet this growing demand. Every coin struck there carried the small S mint mark beneath the date, creating a permanent connection to one of America's most historic mint facilities. At the time, nobody imagined that decades later, collectors would be carefully searching through old penny collections, hoping to find original examples from this exact year. The front of the coin, known as the obverse, features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above Lincoln appears the phrase, "In God we trust," while the word liberty sits to the left side of the design. To the right is the date 1953, accompanied by the San Francisco S mint mark. Although the design seems simple, collectors examine every detail. They look closely at Lincoln's hair, facial features, coat lines, and the clarity of the lettering. Small differences in preservation can dramatically affect desirability. Turn the coin over, and you find the reverse design that made the wheat penny famous. Two wheat stalks frame the central inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America. Across the upper edge appears E pluribus unum. It is on this reverse side where many collectors become fascinated by naturally developed black layers and dark toning. Over decades of storage, exposure to air, humidity, and environmental conditions, copper can transform in appearance. A naturally formed dark surface often creates an antique look that tells a story of age and survival. This detail changes everything. What appears unattractive to one person may appear highly desirable to an experienced collector. The 1953 with S wheat penny was struck using a bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of around 1.52 millimeters. Its girth, or circumference, is approximately 59.8 millimeters. These measurements remained standard for wheat pennies of the era, yet collectors still verify them carefully because authenticity is extremely important in today's market. One reason this coin continues attracting attention is the tremendous amount of circulation most examples experienced. Pennies were the workhorses of American commerce. They moved constantly through grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, vending machines, and banks. Very few escaped decades of use. Some were bent. Some were lost. Others were damaged by moisture or careless handling. Every year that passes removes more original examples from the collector market. This gradual disappearance has created growing competition among buyers searching for coins that still display attractive surfaces and authentic character. The black layer, often found on some surviving examples, creates an additional layer of mystery. Many inexperienced owners see darkness and immediately assume cleaning is necessary. That reaction can be disastrous. Never clean this coin. Cleaning removes originality and permanently alters the surface. Once the original toning is gone, it can never be recreated. Collectors understand that natural aging is part of the coin's story. Original toning matters. Original surfaces matter. Even subtle color variations can influence collector interest. Production pressure also played a role in the story of this coin. During the early 1950s, mints operated under demanding schedules to meet nationwide demand. Coining presses worked continuously. Dies experienced significant wear, and production efficiency was essential. Although these coins were not considered special at the time, decades later, collectors study strike quality, detail sharpness, and overall eye appeal with incredible precision. Tiny details that most people overlook often become the focus of intense collector discussions. What comes next is something many casual coin owners never realize. Collector demand for attractive wheat pennies continues growing while the number of available examples continues shrinking. Many advanced collectors are building complete wheat penny collections and actively searching for coins with originality and character. When a particularly appealing 1953S example enters the market, bidding can become surprisingly competitive. Some collectors wait months or even years to locate the right coin. Once acquired, many choose not to sell. They hold their coins tightly, reducing supply even further. For collectors, patience can create wealth. The first thing to check is the date and mint mark. Verify that the coin is indeed a 1953S. Next, examine the surfaces carefully under proper lighting. Look for natural color, original texture, and signs of long-term aging. Avoid touching the surfaces excessively. Store the coins safely and seek professional evaluation whenever possible. Professional grading is critical because it provides authentication, condition assessment, and confidence for future buyers. Today, exceptional examples of the 1953S Wheat Penny with attractive original characteristics have reached market values around $98,000. Think about how unbelievable that sounds. A single cent that many people would ignore could represent serious money hidden among ordinary change. This is hidden wealth in its purest form. A silent fortune that can sit unnoticed for decades before someone finally recognizes its importance. If you ever find one, do not spend this coin. Take a closer look first, because you may be holding a life-changing opportunity without even realizing it. And don't relax yet, because the next coin on this countdown is even more surprising. What makes it valuable is something most people overlook completely, and that overlooked detail has turned ordinary-looking wheat pennies into some of the most aggressively hunted treasures in the collector world. There is a strange pattern that serious coin collectors have noticed for years. Some of the most important coins are often the ones people ignore first. They are not bright. They are not shiny. They do not look impressive, sitting in a handful of change. In fact, they often look dirty, dark, and completely ordinary. That is exactly why so many valuable wheat pennies disappear forever. People spend them, toss them aside, or clean them without realizing they may be holding a hidden treasure. The 1953 with D Wheat Penny is one of those coins. At first glance, it may seem like nothing special, but collectors know that appearances can be deceiving, and this particular penny has become a fascinating target in the world of coin collecting. To understand why, we need to travel back to 1953. America was experiencing a period of expansion and optimism. Industries were growing, families were moving into new homes, and the economy was creating opportunities across the country. Every day, millions of coins moved through stores, banks, restaurants, and businesses. The Denver Mint was working hard to keep up with demand, striking enormous numbers of pennies for circulation. Each coin left the mint with a small D mint mark beneath the date, identifying its birthplace. At the time, nobody expected these pennies to become objects of collector obsession decades later. They were simply tools for everyday transactions. The front of the 1953 with D Wheat Penny features one of the most recognizable images in American coinage history. Abraham Lincoln faces to the right, surrounded by inscriptions that have become familiar to generations of Americans. Above Lincoln's portrait are the words, "In God we trust." To the left is the word "liberty." To the right appears the date 1953, followed by the small D mint mark. Collectors often spend considerable time studying these details. They examine Lincoln's hair, facial contours, jawline, and clothing lines because these features reveal how well the coin survived decades of circulation. Flip the coin over, and the reverse tells an equally important story. Two wheat ears curve upward along the edges, framing the words, "1 cent" and "United States of America." Across the top appears the national motto, "E pluribus unum." This design remained a symbol of American prosperity for decades and became one of the most beloved coin designs ever produced. Many collectors say the reverse side is what first sparked their passion for wheat pennies because it represents a classic era that can never be recreated. The coin itself was struck using a bronze composition made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams and measures about 19.05 millimeters in diameter. The thickness is roughly 1.52 millimeters, while the girth, or circumference, is approximately 59.8 millimeters. These measurements may sound technical, but collectors pay close attention to them. Authenticity matters. Originality matters. Every physical detail contributes to the coin's identity and desirability. One of the most misunderstood aspects of this coin is its dirty appearance. Many surviving 1953 with D wheat pennies spent decades exposed to air, moisture, storage boxes, drawers, and changing environmental conditions. As copper ages, it develops darker surfaces, uneven coloration, and layers of natural toning. To an inexperienced person, this may simply look like dirt. To a collector, it may represent originality. This detail changes everything. Original surfaces are often far more desirable than artificially bright ones because they preserve the coin's authentic history. Unfortunately, this is where many valuable coins are lost forever. A person discovers a dark-looking wheat penny and immediately tries to clean it. They use cloths, chemicals, brushes, or polishing compounds, hoping to improve its appearance. The result can be devastating. Never clean this coin. Cleaning removes original surfaces that took decades to develop. Once destroyed, that originality can never be restored. Many collectors will walk away from a cleaned coin because its historical character has been permanently altered. Original toning matters. Original texture matters. Original surfaces matter. Another reason collectors pay attention to the 1953D wheat penny is because of the production environment at the Denver Mint. Coin presses operated continuously to meet national demand. Dies endured heavy usage, machinery worked around the clock, and millions of coins entered circulation. As years passed, most examples became worn through everyday use. Some were lost. Others were damaged or melted. The number of attractive surviving examples continues shrinking every year, creating growing competition among collectors. Collector demand today is fueled by more than simple rarity. There is an emotional connection attached to wheat pennies. Many collectors remember finding them in pocket change as children. Others inherited collections from parents or grandparents. For some, these coins represent memories. For others, they represent opportunity. That emotional attachment often creates intense competition whenever desirable examples become available. Auctions that begin quietly can suddenly become highly competitive as collectors recognize a chance to acquire a coin they have been searching for. The smartest collectors know patience is one of the most valuable tools they possess. Before doing anything with a 1953 with D wheat penny, check the date carefully. Confirm the D mint mark. Examine the surfaces under proper lighting. Look for signs of natural aging rather than damage from cleaning. Store the coins safely and avoid unnecessary handling. Most importantly, seek professional grading whenever possible. Professional grading is critical because it confirms authenticity, evaluates condition, and provides confidence for future buyers and collectors. Today, outstanding examples of the 1953 with D wheat penny have achieved market values approaching $82,000. Think about that for a moment. A coin that many people would dismiss as old and dirty can represent serious money. Hidden wealth, a silent fortune, a life-changing opportunity sitting unnoticed in a forgotten jar or tucked away in a drawer. This is why collectors constantly remind people to inspect every wheat penny carefully. If you ever find a 1953 with D wheat penny, do not spend this coin. Take a closer look first, because what appears ordinary could be far more important than you imagine. And keep watching, because the next coin on our countdown is even more surprising. What makes it valuable is something that most people overlook completely, and that tiny detail has turned seemingly common wheat pennies into some of the most sought-after treasures in the entire hobby. There is one mistake that happens every single day across America. Someone finds an old wheat penny, glances at it for half a second, and spends it without another thought. The coin disappears into circulation again, carrying a hidden story and a hidden opportunity that almost nobody recognizes. The 1948 wheat penny with no mint mark is one of those coins. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't look extraordinary at first glance. In fact, its ordinary appearance is exactly what makes it so dangerous to ignore. While most people focus on flashy collectibles, serious collectors know that some of the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight among coins that seem completely normal. The story begins in 1948, Ampere's fascinating year in American history. The nation was still adjusting to the enormous changes that followed World War II. Industries were expanding, communities were growing, and the economy was finding new strength. Millions of Americans were building new lives during a period of optimism and transformation. Coins were essential to daily commerce, moving constantly through stores, restaurants, factories, and banks. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the absence of a mint mark, produced countless pennies to meet the nation's growing needs. At the time, these coins were simply tools of everyday life. No one imagined that decades later, collectors would search relentlessly for well-preserved survivors. One of the first things experienced collectors notice is the missing mint mark. New collectors often assume a missing mint mark means something is wrong with the coin. In reality, pennies struck at Philadelphia during this era typically carried no mint mark at all. That simple absence has become one of the defining characteristics of the 1948 wheat penny. Collectors immediately check beneath the date because that small area tells an important part of the coin's story. Most people miss this detail completely. The obverse, or front side, features Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his portrait appears the phrase, "In God we trust." The word liberty sits to the left, while the date 1948 appears to the right. The simplicity of the design is one reason it remains so iconic. Yet collectors study every tiny detail. They examine Lincoln's hair, cheekbone, jawline, and coat lines looking for evidence of wear, preservation, and originality. What seems insignificant to an ordinary person can become incredibly important to a serious collector. The reverse design is equally memorable. Two wheat stalks frame the central inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America. Across the upper portion appears the motto, E pluribus unum. These wheat ears gave the wheat penny its famous nickname and became symbols of American agriculture, growth, and prosperity. For many collectors, this reverse design represents one of the most beautiful periods in United States coinage history. Even after decades, the design continues to inspire admiration and nostalgia. The coin itself was struck using a bronze composition made from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams and measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter. The thickness is about 1.52 millimeters, while the girth, or circumference, is approximately 59.8 millimeters. These specifications may sound routine, but collectors pay close attention to them. Every measurement contributes to authentication and helps confirm that the coin remains true to its original mint-issued form. What makes the 1948 wheat penny especially fascinating is its survival story. Remember, these coins were never intended to become collectibles. They were created to circulate. They passed through countless hands, cash registers, purses, pockets, and piggy banks. Many were lost. Many became damaged. Others were discarded entirely. Every passing decade reduced the number of surviving examples. Finding a 1948 wheat penny in attractive fine condition today is becoming increasingly difficult because so many were simply worn out through years of everyday use. This is where collector demand begins to intensify. The supply of original examples continues shrinking, while interest in wheat pennies continues growing. Collectors love coins that connect them directly to another era of American history. Holding a 1948 wheat penny feels like holding a small piece of the post-war United States. That emotional connection often creates strong competition whenever desirable examples become available. Some collectors spend years building wheat penny collections and carefully searching for coins that display the right balance of originality, eye appeal, and preservation. Original surfaces play an enormous role in that process. Many surviving examples develop beautiful brown coloration, subtle toning, and antique character over time. These natural changes tell a story that collectors appreciate. This detail changes everything. A naturally aged coin often attracts far more interest than one that has been altered. That is why one of the most important collector warnings must always be repeated: never clean this coin. Cleaning removes originality and permanently changes the surface. Once the original toning disappears, it can never truly be restored. Collectors value authenticity far more than artificial shine. Another reason collectors pursue this coin so aggressively is because of how difficult it has become to locate strong examples with honest wear and attractive eye appeal. Auction activity often reflects this reality. A coin may appear ordinary at first, but experienced buyers know what they are looking for. Once they identify an appealing specimen, bidding can become surprisingly competitive. Many collectors are not buying these coins to sell quickly. They are buying them to keep. As more examples disappear into private collections, available supply becomes even tighter. For anyone fortunate enough to discover a 1948 wheat penny, patience is critical. Start by confirming the date. Check for the absence of a mint mark beneath the date. Examine the coin under proper lighting and look for natural surfaces and consistent coloration. Avoid excessive handling. Store the coin carefully. Most importantly, seek professional grading whenever possible. Professional grading is critical because it establishes authenticity, verifies condition, and provides confidence in the marketplace. Today, exceptional examples of the 1948 wheat penny have achieved market values reaching approximately $131,000. Think about that for a moment. A coin that many people would spend without hesitation can represent serious money hiding in plain sight. This is hidden wealth, a silent fortune, a piece of American history that has quietly survived for generations while waiting for someone to recognize its importance. If you ever find a 1948 wheat penny, do not spend this coin. Take a closer look because you may be holding a life-changing opportunity disguised as a single cent. And if you think this discovery is impressive, the next coin on our countdown takes the story to another level entirely. What makes that wheat penny so desirable has created intense collector demand, and the reason behind it surprises almost everyone who hears it for the first time. Picture this for a moment. A person empties their pocket at the end of the day, notices an old penny mixed in with modern change, and casually tosses it into a jar. Years later, that same coin is spent for 1 cent, completely forgotten. No excitement, no second look, no realization that a piece of hidden treasure has just slipped away. That scenario happens far more often than most people realize, and the 1952D Wheat Penny is one of the coins at the center of that story. It doesn't demand attention with flashy colors or dramatic errors. Instead, it hides in plain sight, quietly waiting for someone who understands what they're looking at. The year 1952 was a fascinating period in American history. The nation was experiencing economic strength while adjusting to the realities of a rapidly changing world. Manufacturing was booming, consumer spending was growing, and millions of Americans were participating in an expanding economy. Coins moved constantly through stores, businesses, restaurants, and banks. The Denver Mint worked around the clock, producing coinage needed for daily commerce. Every 1952D Wheat Penny began its life as a simple 1-cent coin designed to circulate, not as a future collectible. Yet time has a way of transforming ordinary objects into extraordinary treasures. One of the first things collectors examine is the small D mint mark located beneath the date. That tiny letter tells a much bigger story than most people realize. It identifies the Denver Mint as the facility where the coin was produced. To casual observers, it may seem insignificant. To collectors, it is one of the most important details on the entire coin. The mint mark immediately connects the penny to a specific place and moment in American history. Most people overlook it completely, which is exactly why valuable coins often remain hidden for decades. The front of the 1952 with D Wheat Penny features Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his portrait are the words, "In God We Trust." To the left appears liberty, while the date 1952 and the Denver Mint mark are displayed to the right. The design is elegant, simple, and instantly recognizable. Yet collectors often spend significant time examining every element. They study the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, the contours of his face, and the strength of the lettering. These details help reveal how well the coin survived at years of circulation. Turn the coin over, and the reverse side displays the famous wheat penny design that collectors continue to admire today. 2 wheat stalks frame the inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America. Along the upper edge appears E pluribus unum. This reverse design symbolizes prosperity, growth, and America's agricultural heritage. For many collectors, these wheat ears represent one of the most beloved images ever placed on a U.S. coin. Even after decades, the design remains deeply connected to nostalgia and American history. The physical specifications of the coin are equally important. The 1952 with D Wheat Penny was struck using a bronze composition consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of roughly 1.52 millimeters. Its girth, or circumference, measures approximately 59.8 millimeters. These measurements may sound ordinary, but serious collectors verify them carefully because authenticity matters. Every fraction of a gram and every detail of the coin's construction contributes to its identity. What makes the 1952 with D Wheat Penny particularly intriguing is the journey it has taken through time. Most examples entered circulation immediately after leaving the mint. They traveled through countless hands, cash registers, wallets, and piggy banks. Every scratch, every mark, and every sign of wear tells part of that story. Many coins from this period were lost, damaged, discarded, or simply worn beyond recognition. The number of surviving examples continues shrinking with each passing year, which only increases collector interest. Another important factor is the production pressure faced by the Denver Mint. During the early 1950s, demand for coinage remained high. Mint machinery operated continuously, dyes endured significant stress, and production schedules were demanding. Although these coins were produced for everyday use, collectors today carefully examine strike quality, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal. Tiny details that seemed unimportant decades ago now attract intense attention from experienced buyers. One aspect that separates valuable survivors from ordinary examples is originality. Many collectors prefer coins that display natural aging and authentic surfaces. Over decades, copper develops rich brown coloration, subtle toning, and a distinctive antique appearance. These natural characteristics create personality and historical depth. This detail changes everything. A coin that has aged naturally often generates far greater collector interest than one that has been cleaned or altered. That is why one warning must always be repeated. Never clean this coin. Cleaning may seem harmless, but it can permanently damage collector appeal. The original surfaces that took decades to develop can disappear in seconds. Once lost, they cannot be restored. Experienced collectors often avoid cleaned coins because originality is one of the most valuable characteristics a wheat penny can possess. Original toning matters. Original texture matters. Original history matters. The demand for 1,952 with D wheat pennies continues growing because collectors understand that opportunities become fewer every year. Many advanced collectors are assembling complete wheat penny collections and searching for attractive examples from every date and mint. When a desirable coin appears at auction, bidding can quickly become competitive. Some collectors wait years for the right example. Once acquired, many choose to keep their coins rather than sell them, reducing available supply even further. If you discover a 1,952 with D wheat penny, start by examining the date and mint mark carefully. Look for signs of originality and natural aging. Avoid unnecessary handling and never attempt to improve the coin's appearance through cleaning. Store it properly and consider professional grading. Professional grading is critical because it verifies authenticity, evaluates condition, and provides confidence to future buyers and collectors. Today, exceptional examples of the 1,952 with D wheat penny have achieved market values reaching approximately $102,000. Think about how remarkable that is. A coin originally worth 1 cent can become a silent fortune hiding in plain sight. This is hidden wealth that countless people overlook every day. A life-changing opportunity that can sit unnoticed in a drawer, a collection, or even a jar of loose change. If you ever find a 1,952 with D wheat penny, do not spend this coin. Take the time to examine it carefully because you may be holding far more than a simple piece of copper. And don't look away now because the next coin on our countdown is even more mysterious. What makes that wheat penny so sought after has turned ordinary-looking pocket change into one of the most aggressively hunted treasures in the entire collecting world. There is something almost unbelievable about the 1,958 with D wheat penny. Millions of people have seen one. Millions have touched one. And yet countless examples have quietly slipped through people's fingers without a second glance. That's what makes this coin so fascinating. It hides behind familiarity. Most people assume an old penny is just an old penny. They drop it into a cash register, spend it at a convenience store, or leave it forgotten in a jar for years. Meanwhile, collectors search relentlessly for surviving examples because they understand something the average person doesn't. Sometimes the most overlooked coin becomes the most painful coin to lose. The year 1958 carried special significance in American coin history. The nation was experiencing rapid growth, technological advancement, and cultural change. Businesses were expanding, consumer spending remained strong, and coins moved through the economy at an incredible pace. At the Denver Mint, workers were striking enormous numbers of pennies to meet daily demand. What nobody knew at the time was that 1958 would become the final full year of the famous wheat penny design before a major change arrived. That historical timing gives the 1958 with D wheat penny a unique place in the hearts of collectors. When collectors hold a 1958 with D wheat penny, they are holding one of the last representatives of an era that was about to disappear forever. The following year introduced the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, ending the wheat penny chapter that had begun in 1909. That fact alone creates emotional demand. Many collectors view the 1958 issue as the closing act of a beloved American coin series. This is not fiction. Some collectors spend years searching for attractive examples because they want a meaningful piece of that history. Looking at the front of the coin, the design remains instantly recognizable. Abraham Lincoln faces right, just as he had for decades. Across the top appears the phrase, "In God we trust." The word liberty sits on the left side, while the date 1958 and the small D mint mark appear to the right. Although the design seems simple, serious collectors inspect every detail. They study Lincoln's hairlines, facial contours, cheek details, and the sharpness of the lettering. Tiny differences can reveal how well the coin survived through the years. The reverse side is where nostalgia truly comes alive. Two wheat stalks curve upward along the edges, surrounding the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top is E pluribus unum. This classic design became one of the most beloved images in American coinage history. For many collectors, the wheat ears symbolize a connection to earlier generations. Every time they see this reverse, they are reminded of a different America, one that existed long before modern coin designs took over. Physically, the 1958 with D wheat penny was struck using a bronze alloy composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, and measures around 1.52 millimeters in thickness. Its girth, or circumference, is approximately 59.8 millimeters. These specifications remained consistent throughout much of the wheat penny era. While they may seem like simple numbers, collectors examine these measurements carefully because authenticity and originality remain critical factors in today's market. One reason this coin continues attracting attention is because of what happened after it left the mint. Most examples entered circulation immediately and spent years changing hands. They traveled through grocery stores, banks, restaurants, vending machines, and family piggy banks. Every journey added wear. Every decade reduced the number of surviving examples. Many were damaged. Many were discarded. Others vanished entirely. Finding a 1958 with D wheat penny that still displays attractive, fine-condition details has become increasingly difficult as time continues removing examples from the marketplace. The Denver Mint itself faced significant production demands during this period. Presses operated continuously, dyes endured tremendous use, and workers were expected to maintain efficiency while producing vast quantities of coinage. These production realities contribute to the unique character collectors study today. Small differences in strike quality, detail sharpness, and surface appearance can make a significant difference when evaluating a surviving coin. Another fascinating aspect of the 1958 with D wheat penny is the importance of natural aging. Many surviving examples have developed rich brown surfaces, subtle copper tones, and antique coloration that collectors find highly appealing. This detail changes everything. What some people see as age, collectors see as authenticity. The natural toning tells a story that cannot be recreated. Every shade, every surface texture, and every sign of honest aging adds character to the coin. That is why one collector rule should never be ignored: never clean this coin. Cleaning may seem like a good idea, but it can permanently destroy originality. Once the natural surfaces are removed, they can never truly be restored. Professional collectors often avoid cleaned coins because they value authentic history more than artificial shine. Original toning matters. Original surfaces matter. Original character matters. A naturally aged wheat penny often attracts stronger interest than one that appears unnaturally bright. Demand for the 1958 with D wheat penny remains strong because collectors recognize its historical importance. It represents one of the final chapters in the wheat penny story. As more collectors attempt to complete wheat penny sets, competition for attractive examples continues increasing. Auction activity often reflects this demand. A coin that appears ordinary to the average person may trigger intense bidding among knowledgeable buyers who understand exactly what they are looking at. If you discover a 1958 with D wheat penny, the first step is simple. Check the date carefully. Verify the small D mint mark beneath it. Examine the coin under good lighting and look for natural surfaces. Avoid excessive handling and never attempt to polish or clean it. Store it properly and consider professional grading. Professional grading is critical because it confirms authenticity, evaluates condition, and provides confidence for future collectors and buyers. Today, exceptional examples of the 1958 with D wheat penny have achieved market values reaching approximately $71,000. Think about that. A coin worth only 1 cent when it was created can become serious money decades later. Hidden wealth sitting unnoticed in a drawer. A silent fortune mixed with ordinary pocket change. A life-changing opportunity that many people accidentally spend without realizing what they have. If you ever find a 1958 D wheat penny, do not spend this coin. Take a closer look, because what appears ordinary could be far more important than anyone around you realizes. And don't leave yet, because the next coin on our countdown is even more surprising. Its story has created enormous collector excitement, and the reason it continues climbing in demand is something most people never see coming. What if the coin most people would ignore first is actually the one collectors dream about finding? Imagine opening an old family coin box and spotting a dull-looking 1941 wheat penny covered with a grey layer that makes it seem worn, aged, and completely unremarkable. Most people wouldn't even pick it up for a closer look. Some would spend it immediately. Others would toss it into a pile of loose change. But experienced collectors know something important. The coins that appear ordinary often hide the most fascinating stories. The 1941 wheat penny without a mint mark is one of those silent treasures, quietly surviving through generations while countless people overlook its significance. To understand why collectors care about this coin, you have to go back to 1941. America stood on the edge of a major historical turning point. The nation was emerging from the final years of the Great Depression. Industries were expanding and global tensions were increasing dramatically. Factories were becoming more active, production was rising, and everyday commerce depended heavily on coins. The Philadelphia Mint worked tirelessly to supply pennies for circulation across the country. Because these coins were struck in Philadelphia, they carried no mint mark beneath the date. At the time, Nobody imagined that decades later, collectors would carefully search for surviving examples from this important year. The absence of a mint mark is one of the first details collectors notice. Many new collectors mistakenly assume something is missing from the coin. In reality, the lack of a mint mark is exactly what identifies it as a Philadelphia issue. That small detail immediately separates it from coins struck at Denver or San Francisco. Most people never pay attention to that area of the coin, which is why valuable discoveries often remain hidden in plain sight. Looking at the obverse, or front side, you'll find the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Across the top appears the phrase, "In God we trust." The word liberty sits to the left, while the date 1941 appears to the right. The design is simple but powerful. Collectors often study Lincoln's hair details, facial features, coat lines, and lettering because these elements reveal how much original detail remains. Even small differences can have a major impact on collector interest. The reverse side features the classic wheat penny design that made this series famous. Two wheat stalks frame the inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America. Above them appears E pluribus unum. For many collectors, this reverse design represents one of the most beautiful and nostalgic periods in American coinage. The wheat ears symbolize growth, prosperity, and the agricultural strength that helped shape the nation. Every surviving example serves as a reminder of a very different America. Physically, the 1941 wheat penny was struck using a bronze composition consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of approximately 1.52 millimeters. The girth, or circumference, measures around 59.8 millimeters. These specifications remain standard for wheat pennies of the era. Serious collectors verify these measurements because authenticity is always an important part of evaluating any coin. One feature that makes some 1941 wheat pennies especially intriguing is the appearance of a natural gray layer that develops over decades. This gray coloration often forms through long-term storage, environmental exposure, and natural aging. To an inexperienced observer, the coin may simply look old or dirty. To a collector, it may represent originality and untouched history. This detail changes everything. Natural surfaces often tell a story that cannot be duplicated. Every shade, every texture, and every layer reflects years of survival. The survival story of the 1941 wheat penny is remarkable. Remember, these coins were never created to become collectibles. They were designed to circulate. They passed through countless hands, stores, banks, and cash registers. Many disappeared through loss, damage, corrosion, or simple neglect. Others were melted or discarded over the decades. Every passing year reduced the number of attractive, surviving examples. That steady decline is one reason collector demand continues increasing. Another factor that drives interest is the historical significance of the year itself. Coins from 1941 represent the final chapter of America before the dramatic changes brought by World War II. For many collectors, owning a 1941 wheat penny means holding a direct connection to that era. It is more than a coin. It is a piece of history that survived one of the most important periods in the 20th century. As demand grows, competition among collectors becomes more intense. Many advanced collectors build complete wheat penny collections and search relentlessly for attractive examples from every date. When a well-preserved 1941 wheat penny appears at auction, serious buyers often recognize the opportunity immediately. Some auctions begin quietly and then suddenly become competitive as collectors battle for ownership. Many successful buyers hold onto their coins for years, reducing available supply and increasing scarcity. One of the biggest mistakes a person can make after finding a coin like this is attempting to clean it. Never clean this coin. Cleaning removes originality and can permanently damage collector appeal. The natural gray layer and aging patterns that collectors value can disappear in seconds. Once lost, they can never truly be restored. Original toning matters. Original surfaces matter. Original character matters. Professional collectors consistently prefer authentic aging over artificial brightness. If you discover a 1941 wheat penny, start by checking the date and confirming the absence of a mint mark. Examine the surfaces carefully under proper lighting. Look for natural color, original texture, and signs of honest aging. Avoid excessive handling and store the coins safely. Most importantly, seek professional grading whenever possible. Professional grading is critical because it confirms authenticity, evaluates condition, and provides confidence for collectors and future buyers. Today, exceptional examples of the 1941 wheat penny with desirable original characteristics have achieved market values reaching approximately $118,000. Think about how extraordinary that is. A simple penny that once bought almost nothing can become hidden wealth decades later. A silent fortune hiding among ordinary change. A life-changing opportunity that countless people accidentally overlook every year. If you ever find a 1941 wheat penny, do not spend this coin. Look closely, because you could be holding one of the most surprising treasures in American coin collecting. And don't go anywhere, because the next coin on our list is even more difficult to ignore. Its story has created incredible collector demand, and the reason buyers compete so aggressively for it may be the most surprising twist you've heard so far. Some coins are valuable because they are rare. Others are valuable because they survived against incredible odds. But the 1934 wheat penny without a mint mark belongs to a different category altogether. This is the kind of coin that people mistake for damaged pocket change. The kind of coin that sits unnoticed in a coffee can, hidden in an attic box, or buried inside an old collection for decades. Its dark spots and aged appearance often cause people to ignore it completely. And that's exactly why so many of these coins disappear. The greatest danger isn't losing the coin. The greatest danger is failing to recognize what you're holding before it's gone forever. To appreciate this penny, you have to understand the America that created it. The year 1934 arrived during one of the most challenging economic periods in United States history. The country was still dealing with the effects of the Great Depression. Families were saving every penny they could. Jobs were precious, money was tight, and even the smallest coin carried importance. Every wheat penny produced during this era became part of a nation struggling to rebuild confidence and stability. When collectors hold a 1934 wheat penny today, they aren't just holding copper. They're holding a surviving witness to one of the most significant chapters in American history. Unlike coins struck at Denver or San Francisco, the 1934 wheat penny from Philadelphia carries no mint mark. That missing mint mark is actually one of the first things collectors check. New collectors sometimes assume something is wrong when they don't see a letter beneath the date. Experienced collectors know better. The absence of a mint mark is exactly what identifies this coin as a Philadelphia issue. Such a small detail might seem insignificant, but in the world of coin collecting, tiny details often make the biggest difference. The front of the coin features Abraham Lincoln facing right, a design that had already become a familiar sight throughout the nation. Above Lincoln's portrait are the words, "In God We Trust." To the left appears "Liberty," while the date 1934 is positioned on the right side. Collectors often spend considerable time studying these features. They examine the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, the definition of his facial features, and the clarity of the lettering. Even in fine condition, these details help tell the story of how the coin survived through nearly a century of history. Turn the coin over, and the famous wheat penny reverse immediately comes into view. Two wheat stalks frame the inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America. Across the top appears E pluribus unum. This design became one of the most beloved in American coinage because it symbolized growth, resilience, and the agricultural foundation of the country. For many collectors, the reverse design alone is enough to spark memories of searching through pocket change as children, hoping to discover an old wheat penny hiding among modern coins. The coin itself was struck using a bronze alloy made up of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of around 1.52 millimeters. Its girth, or circumference, is approximately 59.8 millimeters. These measurements remained standard throughout much of the wheat penny era. While casual observers rarely think about such specifications, experienced collectors know they are important indicators of authenticity and preservation. One of the most intriguing characteristics of some surviving 1934 wheat pennies is the presence of dark or black spots that developed naturally over time. These spots are often the result of decades of environmental exposure, storage conditions, and the aging process of copper. To the average person, they may seem like flaws. To collectors, they often represent authenticity. This detail changes everything. Natural surfaces tell a story. They reveal where a coin has been and how it survived. Many collectors would rather own a naturally aged coin with character than a cleaned coin stripped of its original appearance. The survival of this coin is remarkable when you consider everything it endured. It circulated during a difficult economic era, passed through countless hands, and remained in use long before anyone considered saving wheat pennies as collectibles. Many examples became worn beyond recognition. Others were lost forever. Some were damaged through improper storage or cleaning. Every decade reduced the number of attractive survivors available to collectors. That shrinking population continues to drive demand today. Collector interest in the 1934 wheat penny has grown steadily because it combines historical significance with increasing scarcity. Collectors love coins that connect them directly to important moments in American history. A 1934 wheat penny represents perseverance, recovery, and resilience during one of the country's most challenging periods. That emotional connection creates strong demand whenever attractive examples become available. Auction activity often reflects this reality. A coin that appears ordinary to most people can suddenly become the center of intense competition. Serious collectors recognize quality immediately. They look for originality, eye appeal, and historical character. When the right coin appears, bidding can become aggressive. Some collectors spend years searching for an example that fits perfectly into their collection. Once they acquire it, many choose not to sell, further reducing the number available on the market. This is why one warning must always be taken seriously. Never clean this coin. Cleaning destroys originality and removes the natural surfaces that collectors value. Those black spots, subtle color variations, and signs of honest aging may actually contribute to the coin's appeal. Original toning matters. Original texture matters. Original history matters. Once those characteristics are removed, they can never be fully restored. Professional grading is critical because it helps authenticate the coin and accurately assess its condition without compromising its originality. If you discover a 1934 wheat penny, start by verifying the date and confirming there is no mint mark beneath it. Examine the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for natural surfaces, authentic aging, and overall eye appeal. Avoid excessive handling and store it properly. Patience creates wealth in the coin world because rushed decisions often lead to costly mistakes. Today, exceptional examples of the 1934 wheat penny have achieved market values reaching approximately $169. Think about that for a moment. A single penny that circulated during the Great Depression can now represent serious money. Hidden wealth. A silent fortune. A life-changing opportunity that countless people accidentally spend without ever realizing what they had. If you ever find a 1934 wheat penny, do not spend this coin. Take a closer look, because what appears to be an old piece of copper may actually be one of the most important treasures hiding in plain sight. And if you think this coin is extraordinary, wait until you see the final coin on our countdown. The next wheat penny is even more shocking, even more desirable, and the story behind its value has left collectors absolutely obsessed for years. We've reached the final coin on this countdown, and if you've stayed with us this far, you're about to see why collectors become completely obsessed with searching through old jars, forgotten drawers, and pocket change. The 1928 wheat penny without a mint mark is the kind of coin that turns ordinary people into treasure hunters. It doesn't glitter. It doesn't announce its importance. In fact, most people who find one never realize they're holding a survivor from nearly a century ago. That's what makes this coin so dangerous to ignore. Every year, valuable examples continue disappearing because someone mistakes them for an ordinary penny and spends them without a second thought. To truly understand this coin, you have to travel back to 1928. America was living through a dramatically different era. The nation was experiencing the final years of the Roaring Twenties, a period of economic activity, industrial growth, and social change. Cars were becoming increasingly common, cities were expanding, and millions of Americans were embracing a rapidly modernizing world. Yet nobody could predict the economic storm that would arrive only a year later. The 1928 wheat penny was struck during a unique moment in history, making it a direct connection to a world that no longer exists. Because this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, it carries no mint mark beneath the date. That missing mint mark is one of the first things collectors verify. Many people assume a missing mint mark means something is wrong. In reality, for Philadelphia issues of this era, the absence of a mint mark is exactly what collectors expect to see. Such a tiny detail often separates an important coin from one that gets overlooked. Most people never even think to check. The obverse, or front side, features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head appears the phrase, "In God we trust." To the left is the word liberty, while the date 1928 appears on the right side. The design is simple yet powerful. Collectors spend hours studying details that casual observers completely miss. They examine Lincoln's hair strands, facial contours, cheek details, and lettering sharpness. Every surviving detail provides clues about how well the coin endured nearly 100 years of history. The reverse side displays the classic wheat penny design that has become legendary among collectors. Two wheat stalks frame the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top appears E pluribus unum. This design remained one of the most recognizable images in American coinage for decades. For many collectors, the wheat ears symbolize a connection to America's agricultural roots and to a simpler period in the nation's history. Holding this coin feels like holding a small piece of the past. The coin itself was struck using a bronze alloy composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness of approximately 1.52 millimeters. Its girth, or circumference, measures about 59.8 millimeters. These specifications remained consistent throughout much of the Wheat Penny series. Serious collectors verify every measurement because authenticity and originality are essential factors when evaluating any historic coin. What makes the 1928 Wheat Penny especially remarkable is simple survival. Think about everything this coin has witnessed. It existed before television became common. It circulated long before computers, smartphones, or the internet. It survived economic crashes, world wars, technological revolutions, and generations of everyday use. Most coins from that period never made it this far. Many were lost. Many were damaged. Others were melted or discarded. Every surviving example represents an increasingly scarce connection to American history. The rarity of attractive, fine-condition examples continues to grow because time is constantly working against them. Nearly a century of circulation, storage, handling, and environmental exposure has removed countless examples from the collector market. Every year, the number of desirable survivors becomes smaller. This is one reason collectors remain so determined when searching for older wheat pennies. They know opportunities become fewer with each passing decade. Another factor driving demand is the emotional connection attached to early wheat pennies. Collectors are not simply buying copper. They are buying history. They are buying stories. They are buying a tangible object that existed during one of the most fascinating periods in American history. This emotional attachment often transforms ordinary auctions into highly competitive battles. Experienced collectors recognize that once an attractive example enters a private collection, it may not return to the market for many years. One thing that collectors consistently emphasize is the importance of originality. Natural surfaces, honest wear, and authentic aging are highly valued characteristics. This detail changes everything. Many people mistakenly believe cleaning improves an old coin. The opposite is often true. Never clean this coin. Cleaning removes original surfaces and permanently alters the coin's appearance. Once originality is lost, it cannot be restored. Original toning matters. Original texture matters. Original history matters. Professional grading is critical because it helps verify authenticity while preserving the coin's market credibility. If you discover a 1928 wheat penny, begin by confirming the date and verifying that no mint mark appears beneath it. Examine the surfaces carefully under proper lighting. Look for natural color and signs of original aging. Avoid unnecessary handling and store the coin safely. Patience creates wealth in coin collecting because rushed decisions often lead to mistakes that cannot be undone. Today, exceptional examples of the 1928 wheat penny have achieved market values reaching approximately $212,000. Think about that. A coin originally worth a single cent, becoming worth more than many people's annual income. This is hidden wealth in its purest form. A silent fortune that countless people overlook every day. A life-changing opportunity hiding in plain sight among ordinary coins. If you ever find a 1,928 wheat penny, do not spend this coin. Take a closer look, because you may be holding one of the most valuable treasures of the entire Wheat Penny series. Before we end today's countdown, remember something important. Every single coin featured in this video looked ordinary to somebody at some point. Every one of them passed through pockets, cash registers, drawers, jars, and collections unnoticed. That's the incredible reality of coin collecting. Hidden wealth doesn't always look valuable. Sometimes it looks exactly like the change sitting on your table right now. So before you spend another penny, check your pocket, check your coin jar, and check those old family collections. You never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Rare Coin News USA, because our next countdown features even more unbelievable coins that collectors are paying astonishing amounts to own. And trust me, one of those discoveries might already be sitting in your house, waiting to be found.